I'm Tom Broadbeck, sitting in for Charles Adler. Ontario's Corrections Minister, Madeleine Mayer, got herself into hot water this week after trying to use jail guards as scapegoats for her department's inability to control violence and drug use in the province's correctional facilities. Talk about trying to pass the buck. Mayer infuriated jail guards when she accused them of not doing their jobs in the ongoing battle to keep drugs and weapons out of provincial jails. This is what she said during question period on Tuesday. Quote, "Who is not doing their job when there are drugs going into the facility? Who is not doing their job when there are knives going into the facility?" The comments came after opposition members questioned Mayer about a recent string of assaults against guards, including ongoing problems at Elgin Middlesex Detention Centre in London, Ontario. After guards across the province lashed out against the minister, she offered only a half-baked apology, you know, the kind that really isn't an apology at all, the kind that doesn't accept any responsibility for making an inappropriate comment, and concludes with the qualified, "If I offended anyone, I sincerely apologize." It's time for some Canadian common sense. If Mayer had even the foggiest idea regarding the challenges faced by provincial jails and federal prisons in their attempts to keep drugs and weapons out of those facilities, she probably would not have made the public remarks that she did. Her comments only made matters worse this week as jail guards across Ontario began to protest, including a lockdown and work stoppage Tuesday at London's EMDC, where inmates later began to light fires in their cells. By Wednesday, opposition members were calling for Mayer's resignation for her bungled attempt to deal with a very serious problem. The problem of drugs and weapons in jail is not a new one. It's been around for a long time. And while correctional officials have made some progress in reducing the amount of contraband in jails, there are always new and creative ways of getting drugs and weapons into those secure facilities. Sometimes they involve contractors coming into jails who conspire with criminals on the inside. Other times it's visitors not properly searched because there aren't strict protocols in place who bring drugs into jails. We've even heard stories over the years of drugs being stuffed into makeshift canisters like tennis balls and, believe it or not, dead birds that have been hurled over prison walls. It's a difficult situation. Inmates and anybody willing to help them will stop at nothing to get their fix. And the fight against drugs inside jails is an ongoing one. The same goes for weapons, but often for another reason. Mayer is naive to say the least if she is unaware that many of the weapons inmates have in their possessions are homemade ones. It doesn't take much for an inmate to get their hands on sharp objects and turn them into weapons. The challenge is having the right security measures and protocols in place to detect and confiscate those weapons. It's often easier said than done. That's not to make excuses for those responsible for putting those measures into place and for making sure they're implemented forcefully. But if Mayer thinks that responsibility rests solely on the shoulders of frontline jail guards, she's completely out of touch with the operations of her own department. And she stooped pretty low by trying to make scapegoats out of those on the front lines who have one of the most dangerous jobs in society. If jail guards don't have all the tools and resources they need to help keep drugs out of jails, they can hardly be blamed for all the problems in Ontario's correctional facilities. Besides, even if there were some shortcomings in the implementation of security policies as they relate to drugs and weapons in jails, you don't rake your own staff over the coals publicly. You deal with the matter internally as part of an overall systemic approach to battling the problem. It appears Mayer has a lot to learn about being a minister of the Crown. And that's Canadian common sense.